San Francisco, it's Rex Broadcasting Wrestling Observer with Dave Meltzer and Bryan Alvarez. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on! Get it on!
How's it going, everybody? This is Dave Meltzer here with Bryan Alvarez for the next 2 hours talking pro wrestling. You know, they still say Rex Broadcasting. We haven't been with Rex Broadcasting in forever. But anyway, good John McCarthy Open. And speaking of John McCarthy, we're going to have Dana White, who is the president of the UFC. He'll be on in about a half an hour. We're going to be on with him talking about updates on them. And in the second hour, we're going to have Gabe Sapolsky, who is the booker for Ring of Honor, which is kind of the big insider promotion of 2003. Very, very popular promotion, of course, especially if you get the newsletter. You can see it did very well in the awards for a company with no television. We'll talk about why. So it's kind of like Brewers and Booker's Day, and hopefully we can learn a little bit about the landscape of the industry today and for 2004, because these are going to be two companies to watch, obviously, this year, along with WWE in this country and probably one or two others. Bryan, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty well.
Okay, that's good. A couple of notes, I guess, before we get to phone calls and talk about some of the other stuff. Spanky quit on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Not a surprise that he was leaving. I mean, you know, if you've been paying close attention, you know, you probably know that since there were rumors, and I guess this would date back to early December when rumors started flying, that there's going to be all these cuts, or there's going to be significant cuts right after Christmas. And here we are, we're almost a month after Christmas, and there hasn't been one cut.
Didn't that referee get cut?
Oh, referee, Mike Spark. That's true.
That's the big cut.
Yeah, that was the big cut. Well, there still may be cuts, you know, but, you know, I mean, what it is, it'd probably be something like with Raven and D'Lo Brown. It'll be like one or two guys. Yeah. But anyway, Spanky was, like, sure that he was going to get cut, and he was scared and didn't know what to do, and he started calling people, you know, and found out that God 01, you know, which he worked for before WWE, they wanted him back, and, you know, all the indie groups, they wanted him, and he just kind of, what's the word? You know, he said he went in on Tuesday and he quit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting.
Well, I don't think he's going to make nearly the money that Raven is making, but Raven has even come on this show and said that he's so happy to be gone and he's making so much more money now. And, you know, if you have somewhat of a name and you have bookings overseas and bookings all over here for the indies.
Well, and the other thing with him with the Japan,
yeah,
is that you know, he can make good money in Japan, and also in Japan he can go there and he can be a junior heavyweight star, which was not happening. I mean, he was frustrated in WWE because it was like no matter how good his matches on Velocity were and how many good reviews he got on house shows, the bottom line was he was going nowhere.
Yeah.
And he knew it, and that's a very frustrating thing. We'll talk more about that when we come back. You're listening to the Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, with Bryan Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly. We'll be joined later in the show by Dana White, the president of UFC, and in the second hour, Gabe Sapolsky, the booker of Ring of Honor. We're going to try to figure out what these people are thinking as far as the key to expanding your product base in 2004, and it's certainly 2004 does not look to be an easy year for anybody in the United States. Bryan, would you say that going in?
I would say that, but I think that there have been years where I figured it would be a lot worse and it ended up being not quite as bad as I figured it would be. So, see what happens.
Last year wasn't.
Well, I really thought that last year was going to be a far bigger disaster than it ended up being. Really? Well,
I guess it didn't fall any worse. I mean, 2002 was actually the bad fall.
Yeah.
And last year was kind of more of a steadying period. It was not a disaster of a year by any means, but it was certainly, you know, and not an up year by any means either. Last
year we sort of figured that this brand extension was going to be this enormous failure.
Okay, but at the same time, we also figured last year that Bill Goldberg would be an enormous success.
Yeah, but when the year started, we didn't know he was coming in.
Yeah, not right away. You're right. But you know, certainly leading into Mania. By January, there was a lot of talk, though, that, you know, Rock and Bill Goldberg at Mania, which ended up at Backlash because they couldn't get the deal closed in time.
Yeah. What a disaster that was. I just remember watching the Best of Raw, and they had clips of that match, and there was no heat, and it was like nobody cared, and very depressing.
Well, you know why? You know, there's there's going to be a lot on Bill Goldberg in the next couple of weeks as far as what can you say? Squandered opportunity.
Well, he's one of about 100 squandered opportunities.
Yeah, but it was the big of 2003.
Yeah.
Let's see.
The thing that I noticed was I'm writing the WCW book, and
the death of
I did a chapter on the invasion and how Vince got everything. You still there?
I'm still there. Yes.
That was weird.
Yeah.
And after we're being tapped.
Well,
and after 20 years or whatever.
Hey, you could just listen on the radio. You don't have to tap our phone.
Oh, that's right. Well, that's enough. So, after 20 years, he gets everything, and what did he do with it? It just was a total bust. And to look at how quickly he just ruined that, I mean, WCW, it got huge, and then it fell. But, it peaked in 98, and it didn't really die until 2001.
No, but it was dying bad in 99.
It was dying bad, but look, it still took like 3 years.
Yeah.
Vince killed it in 6 months.
2 years. You know what? Realistically, I got to say it was a number was done in 9 months. Those first 9 months of 1999, and then Russo came in and didn't help matters any. He destroyed the foundation from there.
Well, it did. Yeah, that happened. But I think that even 9 months later, if somebody with a brain had come in, they could have salvaged it.
Oh, certainly when Russo came in, it was salvageable.
After he left the second time, it was dead. After he left the first time, I think
the first time it would have been tough, but it was not dead.
Yeah,
it was not dead, but it was in bad shape. And
like after 6 months, Vince had killed it so dead that look at what happened on Thursday when Paul Heyman mentioned ECW.
Yeah,
and there was barely an ECW chant. He killed the ECW chant. Not to mention he totally killed WCW until there was nothing left.
Yeah. The whole WCW thing could have gone for a year, and then they could have introduced ECW and had another 6 months.
And they did it on one TV show.
And they did it all on one TV show and on one pay-per-view, which did, again, one of the biggest pay-per-views in the history of wrestling was that Invasion pay-per-view, and then it was, they'd already botched it really before that show.
Yeah.
One of the things, I thought back because, really, in the history of wrestling of the last 30 years, the biggest story, no question, was the death of WCW and the sale to Vince McMahon in March of 2001. And when I think back of where the industry could be and how many people, and I'm not talking wrestling people, how many people made stupid, TV people made some stupid business decisions. Because think about this one. Number one, if Viacom had any idea where this was going, Viacom should have told Vince, we want you to keep that show on TBS. We're not going to enforce, because remember, Vince wanted to go on TBS, and Viacom told him, no, you signed an exclusive contract with us.
Yeah.
And it ended up backfiring on Viacom because they have a lot colder product. If it was still on TBS, I think that Vince would have actually, on TBS, done WCW, and he wouldn't have ruined WCW because he was actually going to do it. By the time he did the Invasion, it was... I think in his WCW was dead because there was no TV thing for it. He'd already decided that the Raw WCW thing after the Tacoma show.
Yeah.
After that show, I think that he pretty much, I can't run a WCW house show. I think that crowd just killed it for him. I remember that night, I remember talking to people in the company, and this was the day before.
Yeah.
Took that crowd to heart. We can't do this. No one's going to go for it. But
it was my people.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
We killed the Invasion out here in Seattle.
Yeah, I know. Real quick, the last I checked, which was actually as of 17 minutes ago, the Carolina Panthers were leading the Philadelphia Eagles 7-3. And earlier today, the New England Patriots beat the Indianapolis Colts 24-14. So the Patriots are in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, and they'll be playing either the winner of the NFC Championship game.
That's exciting.
I think that most people who are listening to this show probably don't care, because if they did care, they'd be watching that game. But I just wanted to update you, and we'll update on the Panthers game throughout this show. Okay, let's go through a couple of other things. Johnny Fairplay, what's your thoughts? He debuts Wednesday on TNA.
Well, I don't even know, because I just remember I read their press release, and they're talking about how Johnny Fairplay is the man America loves to hate.
I don't think people care about him anymore.
Well, all I could think was, everyone that I've ever talked to, and these are not just wrestling people, but these are people that I know that watch Survivor that don't know anything about wrestling. They all hate him. Like, he's a man that they don't love to hate. They just hate him. And I'm not sure how this is going to translate into wanting to pay $9.95 to see him, to hate him on a wrestling show.
Well, I don't think that anyone in that company thinks that Fair Play is going to increase the buy rates by being Johnny Fairplay. What they are hoping is that by having Johnny Fairplay, that the media will take notice and TNA will get a larger persona, because basically no one in the real world knows that TNA exists except for the hardcore wrestling fans, and they're just trying to get if some media coverage, and we'll know because if there's a lot of media stories before one day, and they only got a couple days, then he did succeed in what they wanted in their goal. If you don't hear anything about it other than on your wrestling internet stuff and in wrestling circles, then and we'll know by Wednesday. It's a failure because if it doesn't work before the first show, it ain't going to work later.
Well, look at Zach Gowen. I mean, has he really done anything for either company as far as the mainstream? Here's a one-legged guy wrestling.
Yeah, but that's because Vince he could have been a big deal for TNA. Vince exploited.
How big do you think?
Not that big, but big enough to where if People Magazine did a story, it's more than they've ever gotten.
Yeah, but I sort of think that a one-legged guy doing pro wrestling would get more mainstream attention than a Survivor guy who went into wrestling.
Yes, I agree, but the problem I think with Zach Gowen in WWE is I think that everybody in the media saw how exploited he really was, and instead of this feel-good story about this one-legged guy, it's like, God, Vince McMahon's using this one-legged guy to be a heel.
Yeah.
And it didn't turn into that nice story when you actually watched that they were making fun of him for it, as opposed to treating him like he's like this underdog hero. I mean, they did treat him like an underdog hero, but it was really heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, because I know a lot of media sources were very into Zach Gowen, and I think except for USA Today, they all did not do the story. And I think part of that may also have been, you investigate Zach Gowen and you find out that a lot of that story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had some troubles too. And I mean, obviously he had some troubles because when was the last time we talked about Zach Gowen and saw him?
Yeah.
I
think that the best that TNA can hope for is that he ends up being like a phenomenal manager or a great talker and makes something of the show. I don't think that
the odds aren't good. Well, I don't know, Brian. What did you hear? I mean, you're in the Northwest. What did you hear?
Well, you can't really ask me because I never saw any of his shows, and the only people that I heard from were people that hated him. So I really don't know how he was as a performer because the people that hated him weren't going to talk about if he was a great performer. They would just talk about that they hated him.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no idea.
Of course, Sunday is the Royal Rumble, traditionally the number 2 pay-per-view of the year. The lead into WrestleMania, we got, of course, 30-man Royal Rumble, probably be about an hour match. I think that storyline, I mean, wrestling-wise, you're going to have Kurt Angle, you're going to have Chris Benoit, plenty, everyone in the sun, Billy Gunn.
That's right.
No, but I mean, it's going to be loaded with, with good workers, I think, and
what's Billy Gunn's number 1 moment, by the way, do you think?
Hopefully not the wedding.
Because he said King of the Ring was the highlight moment of his career, so how could that be number 2?
Maybe he'll say that his number 1 moment is winning the Royal Rumble.
That could be.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going to head to a break real quick, but, also Brock Lesnar against Bob Holly, which I don't think is that big of a deal. Shawn Michaels and Triple H are going to try to recreate what they did only in a Last Man Standing match.
With no near falls.
With no near, yeah.
Good luck.
And that one's going to go a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Hunter went a long time last year with Scott Steiner. With Shawn, he'll have a lot more confidence in doing it. And a couple other matches as well, against Chavo Guerrero, which takes Eddie Guerrero out of the Rumble. Anyway, we're going to be back with more. We'll start taking calls in just a minute. We'll talk about the big shows in Japan as well. You listen to the Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter with Bryan Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly. If you're looking for information on how to get a subscription to either of these publications, you can go right now to www.wrestlingobserver.com. There's info on this week's issues of both publications right up on the website, as well as how to get a subscription. This week's issue of the Observer is the annual awards issue. It's
big.
biggest issue of the year in a lot of ways, and we got a special rate if you're listening. $15 for the next 6 issues, starting with the awards issue. If you send to the there's directions on the site, either PayPal or a credit card or the Observer site. And tonight, we'll get that thing out to you, the awards issue out to you first thing in the morning. And also, and Bryan, as far as Figure 4, anything new in this week's issue? Anything done so far?
Not yet.
Well, that's good to know.
Actually, I did not have a cover story until I got that tape last week.
And then you had a cover story.
And I did, but
so
I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah, so you watched all 3 shows?
Yes.
Wow. Well, we'll try to talk about that later on today because I want to get in one call, and then we got Dana on. So Dana White will be up in just a couple of minutes, probably right after this call. We'll start with Jeffrey in New York. Jeffrey, what's going on?
What's going on, guys?
Not too much.
The first thing I want to say is about Billy Gunn. I've been watching SmackDown lately because religiously or anything, but when I saw those vignettes with Billy Gunn, I'm like, what the hell is going on? What are they doing?
I mean, obviously it's like a spoof on a radio DJ guy, and they're trying to, turn him heel.
It'll be hard.
Yeah, I know.
Working.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll be a heel once they start.
Have him wrestle. There's your heel turn right there.
Yeah, I know, boy. Yeah, but I don't want him to be a heel wrestler like he was in OVW.
Well,
boy, that was.
You don't have a choice now because I think that I really thought that he was trying a lot harder last time when he returned, but then he got hurt again, and I think that sent him a message in his head to why kill myself. Yeah, and he's what, 40 years old now, right? Yeah, I think he is. Yeah,
I think he's 40. So I think
even be older because I remember him being 38 quite a while ago.
Yeah. So it's right around that age anyway. I mean, so the thing is in his mind now, it's like get as many years in because, there aren't that many years left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else, Jeff?
Yes, a couple more questions. What are you guys' opinions of Mike Kaufman wrote an article on Sakuraba being the greatest mixed martial artist ever, and I just wanted to get both of you guys' 2 cents on that.
He's in the. I mean, the article. There's an interesting thing in the article, and that is that most of your fighters, except for your heavyweights, okay, are cutting down in weight, and Sakuraba did not. And the thing with Sakuraba and the other one like this is Frank Shamrock is that Frank Shamrock walked around at 185. He was smaller than Pat Miletich, who was at the same time the 170-pound champion, and Frank Shamrock was the 200-pound champion. That's a big difference. And he just didn't want to cut weight. And I guess the fact is that in UFC he never lost a match, so he didn't have to cut weight. And Sakuraba was the same thing as far as he did real well against some bigger guy, much bigger and stronger guys. But he was great. Sakuraba was a very, very good wrestler, excellent submission guy. I don't know that there's one guy right now that you could call the greatest of all time in that. Now, Sakuraba is one of the most amazing. He's, if I was going to pick like a mixed martial arts Hall of Fame and throwing out the drawing power, because obviously if you include the drawing power, he's probably number one. But that's because he's Japanese and he's kind of a national hero there. He would be one of the first guys in there. I don't know that he would be number one. I don't know that he would be above, let's say, Nogueira. I don't know that he would be above Randy Couture. I can't name a top guy, but it is amazing what that guy did. And I sometimes I'll read people and they'll I think that what probably got Mike Coughlin mad was, probably somebody on a website somewhere, no doubt, said, look at Sakuraba's record, because he's lost a lot of fights lately. He must be overrated. And, and I think that the thing is like, even if you really watch the skill level, he really was that good. There's a big thing now of like all the, trying to say that everyone's overrated. I don't know. Same thing. I kind of see that in wrestling too. And some of them are, but, I see Frank Shamrock and these guys who in their prime were unbeatable or weren't beaten. When you go a couple of years in mixed martial arts against top guys, if you have a 2-3 year win streak that some of these guys had, you're awesome, for your time. And that doesn't mean you can come back and do it now. So, but, Warner Sakuraba was one of the best.
Okay, just one more question. During the days that, with Farmer Burns' era, I read somewhere that jiu-jitsu experts and carny wrestlers were traveling together, So let me get this straight. Do they exchange ideas, exchange techniques? Is that how?
I think they probably did in those days. It's really hard to know when you're talking about over 100 years ago, because I mean, if you look back at UFC, okay, and when UFC started in 1993, everything by today's standards was so primitive. It has improved by leaps and bounds. I mean, even the guys from 5 years ago are not the full-rounded, skilled guys that we have today. So what those guys were doing 100 years ago, I mean, it had to be so primitive. But, obviously the guys that were doing that, like your Farmer Burnses, just because they were traveling in those circles and they were testing their stuff out, they were probably the best of their day. And I'm sure that, like they ran across the jiu-jitsu guys and they ran across the judo guys and they had the wrestlers, as primitive as all three of those sports were, and they probably all mixed. And, there were people who probably studied a little bit of all and were well-rounded for what that day was, but they didn't really have a forum because, most of, professional wrestling was largely a work sport even then. And the mixed martial arts, I suppose something may have existed, but obviously it wasn't on that big of a level because the first mixed martial arts stuff that you even hear about historically that was on any kind of a big level was the Brazilians, and that wasn't, I think that might have been big in the 50s, but the real big stuff didn't come until the last 10 years. So. Okay.
All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Okay, very welcome, Jeff. We are going to go to Dana White, the president of ZOOF, or the head of the UFC. And Dana, how are you doing today?
Good, Dave. How are you?
We're doing really good. Dana, you got a show in 2 weeks on the 31st with Randy Couture and Vitor Belfort. A lot of stuff's going on regarding that. And I guess first thing before anything, we should probably ask, I know you've talked to Vitor a lot. There was some concern about Vitor fighting, and I guess he's going to fight, and Vitor's sister, and just update everyone how everything stands right now.
Well, Vitor said to me he feels, it's obviously a terrible tragedy, It's every time that Vitor fights, there's always something weird that happens, but, his sister is missing. They don't know where she is. They don't know if she was abducted or if she's just, took off on her own. But Vitor's frame of mind is that, there's nothing I can do about it. I've done everything that I can do here for my sister. I still got to train, and I have to work. I have to do what I got to do. So I've talked to him many times. For as scary and as terrible as this is, his mind really is in the right place.
Now, is this to his advantage as giving him more incentive and kind of put Randy Couture in a weird thing of being a spoiler to this underdog heroic story, or do you think that it's not going to affect the fight at all?
I don't think it's going to affect it at all. I really don't. The conversations that I've had with Vitor's really in a good state of mind, and who knows, could it have some effect on Vitor? It could, but the conversations that I've had with him, I'm not a psychologist or anything, but he seems to be in the right frame of mind as far as I'm concerned.
Any sort of update on his sister?
Nothing. We've been calling up there every day to see if there's been any word, and it's really kind of they're not really saying much. They have to know more than what he's telling us, But he just says they have no word and they haven't found her yet.
Now, when is he coming in tomorrow, or is he coming in later in the week?
Yeah, he comes in tomorrow. He arrives in Vegas tomorrow.
Okay. Any big, plans as far as SDM Sports Show or anything like that? As far as over, I guess Randy Couture's on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yep.
Any other things like that?
We're still working with SDM Sports Show. We got Vitor, I think this Thursday. I'm not positive, but on Cold Pizza. Mm-hmm. That's ESPN.
Right. The morning show.
And yeah, we've got a bunch of stuff going on. We've got a lot of good media as usual.
Yeah.
It's really getting much better. And I think when we do Tito and Chuck, we're going to have a lot of media for that fight.
Mm-hmm. And that's what April 2?
April 2nd. Yep.
Yeah. Now, it's been this is right about 3 years now since you guys took over what was pretty much close to a dead business.
Right.
And it's struggled. It's certainly a lot more alive than it was 3 years ago. You had the big coming out, which probably put you back a good year, as we've talked about before. And the other thing, of course, is since the beginning, one of the things everyone's been talking about is the television. And I haven't discussed this with you, but I mean, the word we're getting is that you're pretty close.
Yeah, we're pretty close. We feel like we're pretty close, but to be honest with you, Dave, we've had 2 TV deals done. Mm-hmm. Had 2 TV deals done, everything but signed. and something's managed to, to blow it up, or, it's not as easy as I thought it was going to be originally, because when we first came in, I mean, we knew what we wanted to do, and we were pretty confident that we could do it. And really, when you look back, this is our third year. We just started our third year. And, I mean, this sport is in a great place compared to where it was. I mean, we've got, who'd have thought that, I think a lot of the fans take for granted, we're on Jimmy Kimmel Live. We've done Jay Leno. We've done Carson Daly. We're doing Carson Daly again. All of this great media that we're getting now. And, 3 years ago, it was, we didn't even know when we would get there. And 3 years later, we're there. Just the TV deal is the tough one. It's been a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
Okay, we're going to take a break right now. We're going to come back with more with Dana White right after this. You're listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter, with Bryan Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly, and we're here with Dana White, who is the promoter, head of the UFC, which has a pay-per-view on January the 31st from Las Vegas, headlined by Grant Schwarr in his first, defense of the Unified Championship that he won from Tito Ortiz, going against Vitor Belfort, the Brazilian phenom, who was in a very interesting situation because his older sister, was just disappeared a little over a week ago, and he's fighting under, interesting situation. He would not give up the fight, which, and the championship shot. There's also Matt Hughes against BJ Penn, which is a very interesting fight. You've got BJ Penn, who was considered, I guess, the number one guy at 155 pounds in the world, pretty much.
Right, no, he definitely, after beating, what's his name? Help me here, Dave.
Was it Gomi?
Gomi, yeah.
Yeah, in Hawaii.
Definitely considered number one.
And Matt Hughes, who almost everyone considers the number one guy at 170. I mean, Matt Hughes has almost been so unbeatable that it's to his detriment because nobody thinks anyone can beat him.
True, yeah, he's definitely got the Tyson aura right now with that. But I think BJ's an interesting fight. BJ, at 170 will be a little stronger. He's very explosive, and he has the one thing that, Matt has proven to be weak, to be the kind of kink in his armor, if you will, is submissions.
And he's probably a better striker.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I agree.
Matt obviously is freaky strong at 170, and no one's overpowered him yet. I think that's where if BJ has a chance, it's going to be with the striking. If BJ can keep from being pinned down to the ground, I think his advantage is striking. I agree with you. Yeah. Now, tell us a little bit about some of the other undercard fights that you expect on the TV, on the pay-per-view.
Well, we're going to have, it's definitely going to be Carlos Newton and Ceruto will be the swing bout. Mm-hmm. Then Wes Sims and Frank Mir.
Oh, yes, that's a big grudge match.
Yep.
Yep.
And then we're going to have, to start the night off, it's going to be Jorge Rivera and, God, I'm going blank tonight. And
was the guy from England,
Lee
right?
Murray.
Lee Murray. Now, tell me a little bit about Lee Murray. I have not seen him fight, but people tell me he's like a really exciting fighter, excellent striker.
Very good stand-up fighter. We were waiting. We really wanted to bring him in for a while. We had to wait until he got the big win, and he finally did. He beat Pele and knocked him out, which is very, very impressive. So we're really looking forward to that. But Rivera is a very, very tough guy, very durable fighter and a very well-rounded fighter. I think Lee Murray's more one-dimensional than Rivera is. Rivera can wrestle. He's good at submissions, and Lee Murray's really good stand-up. He's been working on his takedown defense and his ground game. But I think Jorge has the advantage on the ground.
Now, one of the things, what's your philosophy as far as, let's just say that you get a television deal. I mean, what's your concept as far as what the promotion would then look like in, say, 2004, 2005, as far as, pay-per-view, television, or any other thing that you might be working with, as far as, like, how you do the big fights, what type would you be doing?
Here's the thing. Lorenzo and I both personally believe that the downfall of boxing and how it's ended up where it is right now is because of the best show ever, as far as I'm concerned, as a huge boxing fan, was Tuesday Night Fights.
On USA, yeah.
Yes. Now, the format on Tuesday Night Fights was you had all these up-and-coming guys fighting on the network every Tuesday night. Tuesday night's a great night, too, because, everybody's home on a work night. Friday and Saturday nights don't really work as far as I'm concerned. I think you've got to have it during a weeknight. And when you think back to that, if you look at the boxing that's on TV now, ESPN or Fox, they're all fights nobody really cares about. Back in the day on USA Tuesday Night Fights, you saw up-and-coming guys like Lennox Lewis, Roy Jones Jr., Oscar De La Hoya. You name it, those guys were fighting on there all the time. Bernard Hopkins, any of the top guys that you can think of all fought on Tuesday Night Fights. And you have to build these guys up into pay-per-view stars. That's another thing in the 3 years that we've owned it. We've been very surprised, is that the pay-per-views aren't much higher than they're not as high as we expected them to be.
Right.
Put it that way. We have grown the pay-per-view business since we first got back on cable, but it's not at all what we expected it to be.
It's real.
I really believe that you need to have that free TV platform.
Well, and also your big pay-per-view stars for the most part are the Ken Shamrocks and the Tank Abbotts in a lot of ways, because so many of the new guys haven't been seen by as many eyeballs. I mean, obviously Tito Ortiz was a big star, and Randy Couture hopefully will become a big draw, with his win over Tito Ortiz.
Right.
But I mean, still, a lot of those guys that we see on these shows, there's still a lot of, basically unknowns to the average person.
Well, I think that's kind of the way we've done it. Tito Ortiz wasn't really a big pay-per-view draw for us until he fought Ken.
Yeah.
Ken was the guy who really brought in the numbers. Then, they were better when Tito fought after he fought Ken, and hopefully they'll be better for Randy.
Yeah. As far as Randy goes, I mean, is there anything new as far as his training or anything like that? And as far as, long term with Randy and with a lot, one of the things that you got that you probably didn't expect 3 years ago was the explosion of the sport in Japan, not just from Pride now, but now you've got, Inoki and K1 and all these guys, and they're all, it's like the minute a guy becomes a star in UFC, they become pretty in demand in Japan now.
Absolutely, I agree. Yeah, that's tough. And, it hasn't been as bad as people make it out to be when you really think about it. How many of our stars have really gone over there? These guys are all thinking about, oh, God, I can go to Japan and make these big dollars. Josh Barnett really went over there and did pro wrestling for a while, never got picked up, not ever really got a big deal. Merlo Bustamante sat on the sidelines for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
He sat out so long, then he went in and lost 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Granted, against some seriously tough guys, but Jens Pulver went over there to make the jump and fought one fight and won, and then never returned again.
Yeah.
So
well, it's really harder for the smaller guys. They're not really that much in demand.
Yeah.
Over there.
It's weird. The whole Japanese thing, there's no doubt about it. Japan is huge right now. I mean, these guys are putting on these shows, three in the same night, competing against each other on 3 different networks. It's amazing. I only wish it was like that here.
Yeah.
But as far as these guys, I think it's more of a myth where these guys think they're going to go over to Japan and make these big dollars. It's like right now, Rich Franklin, who has fought for us a couple of times and then went over there and got knocked out, and we'll see what we see from Rich in the next couple of fights.
Is there still some sort of deal set up with Pride?
What do you mean?
Like anything with Pride sending guys to your show, or you're sending anybody? Is there anything that
right now? Every time the guy that I want obviously is Sakuraba. I'd really like to bring Sakuraba over in the show. He's their big standout star still, even after losing. There's no way they're going to send Vanderlei Silva over here. It'll never happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been looking for Sakuraba, even after a couple of losses, and they came on. They came to the show when they were at our big show and came on TV and said that they were going to have him on, and then they end up telling me, I just talked to them 3 or 4 ago talking about Sakuraba for the April show, and they're like, well, now he's going to take 6 months off.
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay, he's going to take 6 months off, and then you guys are going to want him again, right? And they just kind of laughed. So I really don't think they have any intention of sending Sakuraba over here.
Do you think that they're going to run Vegas in March, or do you think that's not going to happen?
It won't happen.
It won't happen?
No, I've said that already. They won't be here in March.
Okay.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible for them to pull a show like that. You hear all these reports, and it's all just people that don't know what they're talking about. There's no way that they can come over here. I mean, it's almost the 31st now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're gonna pull off a show in a month. isn't going to happen. And if they did try to do it, just couldn't. I mean, you probably couldn't even book the venue a month and a half ahead of time. You know what I mean?
Now, is there anything like, when you send Chuck Liddell over there a couple of times, is there any, there's nothing going in that direction right now?
No, not right now. There's nothing interesting over there for me right now. That was interesting. We wanted to fight Wanderlei Silva. I'd still do that. We'll see where Chuck ends up out of this whole this tournament we've got going on here with Vitor and Randy, Chuck and Tito, and see what happens. But I'm still interested in Chuck fighting Wanderlei Silva.
And what happened as far as Chuck and it's funny. We all watch the show,
right?
And when I was watching the match with Chuck and Quentin Jackson, you've probably taken some heat for your commentary there, but I was thinking the exact same thing you were saying. Is like because my idea of the match is that the first round he's going to take him with leg kicks, and the second round he's going to knock him out. Yep. And he didn't throw the leg kicks. And what happened?
Yeah. I don't care who gives me heat about the commentary. The fact is, he went out there and it was a sloppy boxing match, and it wasn't what we planned on at all. And I'm not going to make any excuses for Chuck or anything else, but some stuff happened, and Chuck's the type of guy that'd rather not. He doesn't talk about it publicly, and I'll stick with that. Quentin fought a great fight that night and beat Chuck, and it's the way it went, So, but do you expect a different Chuck when he fights Tito? Definitely. Okay. Believe me, if anybody goes off you can't go off the Quentin Jackson fight, trust me. It wasn't our night.
And what, as far as Tito Ortiz goes, what's his attitude? Because I just from watching the fight with Randy Couture, I got the impression that he never even in his mind, especially his reaction at the end, he really didn't believe he was going to lose, and I think it really crushed him initially. I mean, is he going to bounce back, or how's he taking the fact that he's mortal, so to speak? Yeah, Tito had definitely losing was not an intention that night. He in no way, shape, or form thought he was going to lose that fight. I think he took it a little hard in the beginning, but he's bounced back now. Tito was a little depressed, and I think he's bounced back, and he's ready for this fight now. We've already shot the commercial. We've done all the interviews. We've done everything that we're going to do for that fight already. And Tito's head seems very, very together, and he's back. So now you're going to be pushing it pretty hard on the pay-per-view as far as like those two guys and interviews and things like that, promos. Yeah, we're going to push this fight hard, very, very hard. We feel that this fight with Chuck and Tito, and the fight after that, put the two winners together, are the two biggest fights of the year for us. Yeah. We're going to go ahead to a break. We'll come back with a couple more minutes with Dana White right after this. You're listening to the Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer Newsletter, with Bryan Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly, and our guest, of course, Dana White, the head of the UFC, a big pay-per-view on the 31st, with Randy Couture defending the light heavyweight title against Vitor Belfort, Matt Hughes, the almost unbeatable Matt Hughes, against BJ Penn, who's you got the number one guy at 170, facing the number one guy in the world at 155, moving up to 170, so that should be a pretty strong double main event. Yeah, it's going to be good. Plus, the other thing, Dave, this is the first time we've ever done a Saturday. The London show was Saturday, wasn't it? Yeah, well, that was different though. Yeah. Being live in the U.S., we've never gotten a Saturday before because of boxing, basically. So we're really ticket sales have been very, very good for this show, and we're hoping for probably the biggest walk-up we've ever had since it's on a Saturday night. Well, no, so as far as being the night before the Super Bowl and you're in Vegas, I mean, was that a conscious decision or did it just work out that way? No, we worked it out that way. We figured that we'd do a great walk-up, that night. Plus, there's this. If you're not at the Super Bowl, this is the other place to be. I mean, this town it'll be busier for Super Bowl than it is on New Year's Eve. So, you got all these people in town the night before they're going to their Super Bowl parties hosted by their casinos that bring them into play. Mm-hmm. And so they're looking for something to do. So the other great thing that we've had was a great opportunity is that, a lot of the casinos buy up tickets to send their players. Mm-hmm. So it was a great deal for us. Yeah. Now, then we get to go on a Saturday, which we think is going to be healthier for pay-per-view, too. I think so, too, because the one time when you had the England show, I had way more people over my house, just because, Friday you're getting off work and this and that. Saturday, I mean, the place was mobbed, and it was just because it was Saturday. I thought that was, now, what's the status of Phil Baroni going forward?
Phil is, talk about somebody that's very depressed right now.
Yeah.
Phil's pretty depressed, and, he is, I think he's got himself an attorney, and he's going to try to appeal, the suspension. I don't think he's going to have much luck.
Was it a 1-year deal?
Yeah, it's 1 year.
Yeah.
And the Mohegan commissioners aren't very big Phil Baroni fans.
Well, I can imagine that.
Yeah.
Okay, we are totally out of time right now, Dana. I just want to thank you very much, and hopefully, next time we have you on, we'll talk about a new TV deal and a couple of big shows. Hopefully the show in 2 weeks will be as good as it sounds on paper.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Thanks for your support.
Okay, you're very welcome. That was Dana White, who's the promoter of the UFC, entering his 3rd year with the big show, of course, the night before the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, and on pay-per-view, big Saturday night pay-per-view. We're going to be in the second hour talking to GABE SAPOLSKY of Ring of Honor, probably the most talked about independent promotion in the United States, the booker of that, and in fact took second for Booker of the Year in the latest Observer Awards, and talk about his philosophy of being, and we haven't had a chance to talk to him at length because we always get him in here right after the show for about 15 minutes. But anyway, we'll have him for the whole second hour practically. We'll see you right after this. You'll listen to the Wrestling Observer live on the Sports Byline Radio Network.
Welcome back to Hour 2 of the Wrestling Observer with Dave Meltzer and Bryan Alvarez. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on! Get it on!
Okay, we're back here with the second hour here on Wrestling Observer Live, and this is another one that's going to go by a little bit too quick for my taste. We're going to have GABE SAPOLSKY up in just a couple of minutes. It's 14-3, the Carolina Panthers over the Philadelphia Eagles. They're probably starting the 4th quarter. When I went in to check 5 minutes ago, it was like 53 seconds left in the 3rd. So Eagles got to make a big comeback, or it's going to be the Panthers and the Patriots in this year's Super Bowl in 2 weeks. Before we get to phone calls, we're going to start taking them. We got a full bank of calls. We've had it pretty much for the whole show, and we haven't had a chance to get into a lot of them. Bryan, real quick, want your predictions on first Randy Couture and Vitor Belfort?
This one is so tough to pick. I would have picked Randy until the thing with Vitor's sister happened. And I think because of that, one of two things are going to happen. One, Vitor, no matter what anybody says, will not be in a state of mind to have a great fight, and he'll get destroyed. Or this will be one of those stories where, he beats all odds and beats Randy. So I don't even want to predict right now because I don't know which way it's going to be. So, pan out.
Wow, that's gutsy. Although this is a hard one. Manage, I think.
I just think back to that fight on the England show with, what was his name? But his father had just died.
Ian Freeman when he beat Frank Mir.
He just went to town.
On Frank Mir, yes he did.
And I don't think anything ever became of Ian Freeman before or after.
No, he fought Vernon White, and I think they had a draw or whatever it was. It was a really close fight. And, yeah, he never had another big win again, and Frank Mir's still considered a pretty big star. Yeah,
so this could be an Ian Freeman night.
Yeah, there could be a great story there. So it's going to be I'm going to go with Randy Couture, because whenever I don't, he always wins. Now, I've picked Randy Couture to win fights that he's lost. It's real B.J. Penn and Matt Hughes.
I've seen B.J. Penn look impressive, and I've seen him look not impressive. And Matt Hughes has been consistently impressive, so I'm going to give the edge to him.
I will, too. We're going to go to a break right now. We'll take some phone calls right after this. You're listening to the Wrestling Observer live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter with Bryan Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly. And we're going to get to some phone calls right now for everybody who's been waiting patiently for a long, long time, starting with Jonathan in Savannah. Jonathan, what's happening?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Not too much. What's going on?
Dave, I had a couple questions for you, but first I wanted to say, I think from Bryan, when he asked about what Billy Gunn's #1 moment should be, I think it should be that he's still employed by WWE.
Well, how about his #1 moment will be when he came out as Rockabilly?
That was another one. But my first question is,
how about this one? Remember when he came back and he was like the first guy to have a bad match with Chris Benoit?
That's right. 2 in a row, wasn't it?
What?
It was 2 in a row, I think.
Yeah, I think he dropped him on his head or something, and it was like nobody could have a bad match with Benoit like at that point. Well, they still very few can now. Anyway.
My first question is, I saw Bob Sapp on Jimmy Kimmel.
Yeah.
And I had a question about what's the latest with him versus Tyson as far as if they've come anywhere with like the rules and with the location of the fight.
I'm here in Vegas in May, and as far as the rules, I don't know. It's not going to be mixed martial arts rules for sure.
On the show, he said something about he would be able to kickbox and Tyson would be able to punch.
Yeah, well...
Why does he have a kickboxing match then?
Well, then I guess that means he's a kickboxing match, but Tyson won't throw any kicks.
Yeah.
And Sapp's not going to throw so many kicks either. He may throw one.
Okay, and my other question for you is about the plan for Benoit. I know I was reading in the Observer, like, that I guess the plan is to maybe move him over to Raw.
Pretty much, I think that's going to happen.
Well, my question with that is he just going to be, like, fed to Triple H like everybody else? Is that...
Well, in the long run, yes. Maybe not in the short run, but, that's what happens when you're on Raw is that you're ultimately fed to Triple H, and I don't think that's going to change until there's a divorce, really. I mean, it's kind of sad, and it's one of those things that it's just... I don't know how to explain it, but it's just one of those things that's just going to be wrestling. And
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Why would you spend a long time building up a guy to be one of the top stars on your TV show and build him up month after month as a guy chasing your world title and then have him go to the other show?
I do not know.
Okay.
But I think that
there's a logical reason.
I think the logical reason is that Triple H, with Goldberg gone, Triple H has run out of fresh opponents, and that's a fresh opponent. And the other thing is that Triple H had a bad year last year. He had, with working with Kevin Nash, working with Bill Goldberg. He had a lot of bad high-profile matches. And this year, I think he set himself up between Shawn Michaels and Chris Benoit to make a big comeback. At least he's going to have good matches.
Well,
I hope he will. If he doesn't,
from that perspective.
But seriously, I think the one thing, Steiner match, both Steiner matches weren't good. The Nash match, I guess it was better than it should have been, but the Nash series was, certainly not great. The Goldberg series, they never really had a great match. I think that, the one match I think was, kind of, they did it right, but it wasn't like it was a great match. So what was it, the Elimination Chamber match was really good, but that wasn't just Triple H. That was a whole bunch of guys, and Triple H was actually only in there for the last 2 minutes or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
But he won. But the whole thing is that, he didn't have a great pay-per-view year last year, and I think that you can see that he's setting himself up for a great first 6 months anyway.
So if Benoit were to win the Rumble or in any way get a title shot, is basically, I think to paraphrase Triple H from Raw a while ago, he'll just be warming the belt for him. If he happens to win the belt and beat Triple H,
put it this way,
and that'll be about it.
Looking at it, everyone knows like the things coming up in Edmonton, Backlash, right?
Yeah.
If it's me, I don't have Benoit win the title at WrestleMania. I have him win it back in Edmonton. I think it's better. I think that that's what they'll come up with as well. And after that,
lose it at WrestleMania.
What?
And he can lose it at WrestleMania.
Backlash is the month after WrestleMania.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, not No Way Out. No Way Out's going to be the SmackDown show. So as far as I could see them do a disputed thing at Mania because they probably won't go on last. Or maybe he'll win at Mania and go to Edmonton, with his first title defense and win again. I don't know. And then Triple H will go, well, beat me twice. And
time.
And then, whatever, it wouldn't be May, it would be, let's see, I guess it would be the June pay-per-view.
Bad blood.
the June pay-per-view where they would probably do the third match. So we'll see what they do. I don't know. It's none of those decisions are final. He still hasn't won the Rumble, and he still hasn't jumped to Raw. So we'll see. And you know how they change things the day of the show. Yeah. So.
Oh, and I have another question about the comment that Cena made at app about Heyman.
The bounce checks that one?
What was about talking about? What did he say? He said, "Come on, Paul. Everyone knows you like to swallow."
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah.
Is there like a reason? Is there a reason?
Yeah, they try to always insinuate that the heels are gay. It's just old time wrestling. There's no secret backstory that has anything to do with that. It's just regular wrestling heels. Yeah. And
one last quick one is. With the TNA and this big pay-per-view that they were supposedly banking on with Hogan, what's that looking like? No Hogan, I assume?
They're looking at doing it in June, and they're still thinking Hogan's going to be a part of it, but who knows?
Okay.
Yeah. All
right.
Okay?
Thanks.
Okay. We got Gabe SAPOLSKY up in Philadelphia. Gabe, how are you tonight?
Good. How are you guys doing over there?
We're doing really good. Gabe, of course, the booker for the Ring of Honor promotion, which, for those of you who haven't seen the videos of Ring of Honor, I'll tell you right now, get the November 1st show, get the December 27th show. I've just been watching them.
Thanks, Dave.
Seriously, the November 1st show, I'll say this right now, you have to get it just to see the cage match. And it's not even necessarily the best match on the card. It's just an amazing match. I've shown it to my friends, and they just couldn't believe it. But up and down, Ring of Honor, you get these videos. They're really fun to watch. There's angles that are booked. I wish you had weekly TV. I wish you were on Wednesday night. We've talked about this before. I've written about it before. Every time I watch Wednesday night and I see half of your roster on the show doing nothing on their show, and their main events on your show, and they're interesting, and it's just too bad. But anyway, I want to of course bring you. We've had you on a couple of times, but it's always kind of like a rush, and I wanted to give you close to an hour. One thing. December 27th, you had a real big show, and of course you had the big Ohio last weekend. Now, 2004, this is a very difficult time to draw people to live events. WWE's even struggling pretty much to draw people to live events, and you're putting out this great product, and you're getting your 500, which is I guess break even or better for a lot of shows, and some shows significantly bigger than that. I mean, what do you think is the problem? Why, you're, with you, you don't have TV and you're kind of depending on the internet, but it's real hard to get people to make that commitment to come to the buildings these days.
Yeah, well, before I answer that, I first of all want to thank everybody out there for our showing in your year-end awards and the ballots. It was really an honor the way that we placed in a lot of categories and everything. So I wanted to thank everybody for that. And then to answer your question, I just think it's really tough to get people to want to go to independent wrestling. They hear it's independent wrestling, they go, oh, it's the minor leagues. It's just really hard to get people to give it a chance.
Yeah. Are there any are there any plans as far as what you're looking at 2004 different from 2003, or just?
No, we always have the same approach. We're not in a race with anybody. We're just going to take things day by day, and basically, our main concern is just surviving every single show, and that's what we've been doing so far. So if, suddenly the word of mouth spreads, and for some reason we start having more people at our shows, then that's great. We'll move up to the next level. If we keep going along like we're going now, then that's perfectly fine as well. We'll just keep going wherever the people take us, really, and we have patience. We're not in a race with anybody. We're not in any big hurry. We don't care about being called number 2 or number 3 promotion or anything like that. We just want to stay in business and keep going as we've been going.
Hey. Did you guys get some international TV deals of any sort?
We're on, I think, Samurai TV airs all our shows now. I'm not sure how much of it they air. I think some shows it's like 4 or 5. I think some shows they air the whole thing. And I think with that wrestling channel in the UK, and I'm not sure, honestly, exactly how they're putting the shows together. I know Samurai TV just shows our commercial tapes, but I don't know how in the UK they're putting it into like a television show type format or how exactly that's working.
Would you, like you did help, I guess there was kind of like a Frontiers of Honor thing. Is there any talk as far as doing like a Ring of Honor show for Japan or a Ring of Honor show for England?
Yeah, there's definitely been talk, but there's always talk of lots of things in lots of places, and you know how a lot of that goes, Dave. So we just kind of be patient and see what happens, and we're looking to see what comes to us, and you know, if a good deal comes our way and it's something that we can break even on or make a little money on, then we're definitely going to do it. So if that means going to New Orleans, if that means going to Alaska, if that means going to Japan, whatever, as long as it makes business sense, we'll do it.
We're gonna head to a break right now. I want to remind you guys you can call us at 1-800-878-PLAY. We'll start taking some phone calls in a couple of minutes with Gabe SAPOLSKY and just talking about wrestling in general. And we'll be back with more right after this. You're listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter with Bryan Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly and Gabe SAPOLSKY, the booker for Ring of Honor, based out of Philadelphia, and they run shows all over basically the Northeast, and we'll get some of the dates in just a couple of minutes. Real quick reminder, if you're looking for the most updated wrestling information, the real behind-the-scenes news in pro wrestling, you can subscribe to the Wrestling Observer newsletter as well as for Figure 4, which is some of the most entertaining reading you'll ever have on pro wrestling. There's info at www.wrestlingobserver.com on how to get subscriptions to both publications, and we got a special for $15. You can get the next 6 weeks of The Observer, including this week's awards issue, which we've talked a little bit about, bests in top 10s in 41 different categories, Wrestler of the Year, Best Promotion, Best Booker, which Gabe SAPOLSKY took second in, behind Jim Cornette, who's a frequent guest of this show, and Feud of the Year, and just a million other categories, as well as all of the latest news. And there's actually a lot of interesting news coming up. But one of the things I guess we could talk to you about, I don't know that this is aside from The Observer, I haven't seen it anywhere else. In April, you are going to have a show in Chicago, and you're going to have a very interesting confrontation for the, I guess, first time in wrestling history, which is amazing to be said that anything could be a first these days.
Oh, yeah, especially when you deal with these two. We're going to have Bobby Heenan and Jim Cornette working the opposite sides of each other. They're both going to be managing. Cornette obviously will be managing the Briscoes, who are the tag champs for us right now. And we're going to do a little storyline again to who Heenan will be managing. It's actually still a little up in the air, but I got a pretty strong feeling of what direction we're going to go in. And, I tried to think for a while how those two ever worked together, and when they would have crossed paths, and I mentioned it to Cornette about working with Heenan, and Cornette said the only thing they've ever done was Heenan as an announcer introduced Cornette in his WWF debut, and Cornette said I gave him a big hug because he was my idol, and that's all they've ever done together, so they've never really worked together, and I know both of them are both very much looking forward to working each other. Cornette is really looking forward to working with Heenan, and you told me the conversation once about, I think it was you, about how you asked Heenan, or it might have been you, who the greatest manager was.
It was actually Mike Tenay who asked him, but he was on the show where he brought it up, who the greatest manager was, and he said that it was him, and Jim Cornette would agree. but Bobby Heenan did say that Jim Cornette was the second best.
Yeah, so from what I haven't talked to Heenan yet, but from what I hear, he's very excited about working opposite Cornette. So
I'm sure he would be.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something very unique, and no doubt we're going to give those two the mic for a long time and let them do whatever they want. So it's definitely going to be something special.
Okay, we're going to go to Ed in San Antonio. Ed, what's going on?
Hey, guys. I'm going to go ahead and change my questions here. Gabe, my question I'd like to ask you is, I know that you've worked with Rudy Boy. You have him and some of the students go to the Ring of Honor shows, and at the last River City show, you guys sent Homicide and somebody else. And my question being is, would you guys plan at any time to have a Ring of Honor show here in Texas?
Well, actually, Rudy's talked to us about it, and Rudy would love to bring us down, but again, it all goes back to, could we break even going down there? And at this point, it doesn't look like we could, because we just have so many flights when you include the office, and there's not really a lot of locals there. Obviously, we'd have all of Rudy's guys on the show, but besides that, there's not a lot of other people within driving distance. So right now, it just doesn't look like we'd be able to break even on it, but if the time ever came when we could, we would definitely be down there.
Yeah, that'd be great. I mean, I'd really love to see Spanky and American Dragon wrestle again. I used to watch them when they were going to school, and
yeah, you probably saw plenty of them down there.
Yeah. So, also, you were talking about Cornette and Heenan coming in, and at other times you have brought in other bigger stars, and a few times, like guys like Raven, they get over with the fans. Tommy Dreamer, he gets over with the fans, but there have been other guys like Jeff Hardy and Conan, who the fans pretty much turned on the second they got there.
Boy, they turned on both of them.
Yeah, in a hurry if you saw the tape. We're actually going to be releasing the Conan thing pretty soon. But, I'm all about giving people a chance, and, you might as well bring them in and see what they have. And I'm a big fan of bringing in different names because, maybe that might attract a couple of other people who might not otherwise come to the show. So that's always a good thing. It's always a good thing to be diverse in your product. So, you bring them in, you give them a chance. If it works, then you have something on your hands. If it doesn't, well, then you go try something else.
Now, it's an interesting thing because, Conan and Jeff Hardy did not get over as an understatement. Jeff Hardy, those people just were brutal on him. Before he ever came out, yet Dusty Rhodes and Abdullah the Butcher, no problems at all, right?
Well, when you look at Dusty and Abby, they also go way back, and people remember them from their NWA days and Japan and AWA or whatever else they did. So that's more of a nostalgia thing. Whereas Jeff Hardy, none of our fans grew up on him. He's a guy who came up in the late '90s, and Conan was never really, he never had that credibility that Dusty did. Or when people think back on their childhood, they don't think of him. Whereas during Abby, so that's why Dusty and Abby still able to get over. When people see them, they basically relive, their fond memories when they grew up watching wrestling.
Now, are there any people? Obviously we talked about Heenan, we talked about Cornette. Are there any other people that you're talking about for the next couple of months? I know I know Roddy Piper's coming in for an autograph show in March.
Yeah, well, Roddy Piper, that was the kind of thing where Rob Feinstein, the ROH promoter, he wanted him in, and it was a great weekend. It was WrestleMania weekend, so we figured maybe that would attract some of the out-of-towners coming in. So, it's Roddy Piper. Who wouldn't want Roddy Piper on their show at least once? But I'd love to bring in somebody like a Ricky Steamboat or like a Dean Malenko or an Arn Anderson or somebody like that to put over our pure wrestling division, like maybe ref a match. Or I really wanted somebody in Boston on February 14th when we do the tournament to have the champion to come and present the belt to the champion and give a little speech about the whole thing, but nobody was available.
Have you guys talked to Spanky since he quit?
Yeah, I've been emailing back and forth with Spanky, so it's just a matter of getting together on some dates when he's available, but he'll definitely be back.
Any particular matches that you're looking at for him, or storylines or anything?
I haven't really thought about storylines yet because I think he's more going to be a guy that comes in and does dream match after dream match for us because it'll be tough getting storyline momentum going because he's going to be in Japan a lot. So, but you look at everybody on our roster and he's a fresh match against them. So it's limitless. I'd love to do him against AJ. Him against Bryan Danielson. I'd love to do the 2 out of 3 falls match that we never got in. You just go up and down the roster. Homicide would be great. We could build him up for a title match to Joe. Him and Chris Daniels. I was dying to do that back in the day as a singles match, and we never got an opportunity. So, the list goes on, and all those guys that are going to be, Matt Strikers and even like Alex Shelley's and Jimmy Jacobs, like the upcomers like that. So, it's unlimitless, the matches that you can have for them.
Ed, is there anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I just want to ask one more question. If when the WWE is interested in, say, one of your wrestlers, now, would they call you and say, hey, what's the prospects on this guy? Or would they just go out and steal him? What's the relationship between...
I never talked to WWE about anybody. Never once.
So if they would just steal somebody, they would never have any...
It's not really stealing. I'm always glad to see somebody move on because they're not making any money with us, and they're not making money on the indies. I'm happy to see somebody make a living. And to me, that's what keeps the product fresh, is we have no problems. If somebody leaves, we have no problem filling that spot. And if you have the same guys forever and forever, and I think that's one of the things that if you look in the past at promotions that's gone out of business, like ECW or Smoky Mountain or, even going back World Class or any of those, or even NWA, they always had the same guys, and it just got old and tired. And so I'm all for one for somebody moving on and that opening up a spot and that guy hopefully being happy in WWE. There's not too many people that are these days, but at least making a living and getting a consistent paycheck.
I got a question for you. How much did the All Pro Wrestling, what was it called? The tournament that Bryan that we went to, the Indy Cup or whatever, what do they call it exactly? King of the Indies. King of the Indies. How much did that inspire you? Because I remember, when we talked about Ring of Honor for the first time, it was very shortly after you had seen the tape of King of the Indies, and if you look at the guys who were the stars of King of the Indies, of Bryan Danielson, Spanky,
I did every match in that tournament practically.
Samoa Joe, Doug Williams. I mean, it was like those are the guys who were, Chris Daniels, AJ Styles. That's the cornerstone of your promotion.
Oh yeah, that was a legendary weekend. Those two shows were absolutely phenomenal. And like after I watched them, I was just like, Jesus Christ, there's so much awesome talent out there. And I mean, the guys are incredible, and it's just clear from watching those tapes. So yeah, I mean, that tournament was definitely a big influence on ROH. There's no doubt about that.
Now, a lot of people do know this, and some people don't. You're in many ways a protege of Paul Heyman. When Paul Heyman was in ECW, you worked for the company and you worked underneath Paul, and you certainly talked to him. Probably, I don't know if this is true, but I think probably more than just about anyone for a couple of year period, or almost anyone. As far as creative goes and everything. What would you say are the most important things that you learned from Paul Heyman as far as booking?
I learned everything from Paulie, basically. Number one, you have to be unique, and if you notice, that's what we set out since day one to do, and that's always what we strive to do. You have to be different, and again, that's what we did, and I mean, there's just so many lessons throughout the years, but that would definitely be the main one, and that's something that we've always set out to do. And I just learned a lot just by, asking him why this happened or why that happened, and like, for instance, one thing that I never understood, which he never did, and this is a big lesson I learned from him, was he always knew guys were leaving, but he never jobbed them out. Like Taz, when they had that big contract dispute, he only had him do a couple of jobs on the way out, and he could have had him at the house shows every night doing jobs. Or I mean, it's one guy after another that he never jobbed him out on the way out, and I never understood that, because you always think, oh well,
tradition is you beat him with everyone.
What's that?
Tradition is the guy's leaving, you try to beat him with everyone you can,
and you give everybody the rub.
Yeah.
And what Paulie told me was, hey, if you do that, then everything that guy did for you is pretty much worthless, and it's like that you were lying to the people the whole time. And suddenly, you had this guy that like Taz who beat everybody, and then suddenly gets beat the whole time. It takes away from everything he's done. So that's something that I really believe in, and I always try to have it so like if a guy does a job like on a way out, he's only doing one, and it really means something. It really puts the guy over. So I mean, that was just one of the many it's lesson after lesson from him.
Yeah, Cornette had the same one, because I know that like when a lot of the guys go to WWF, or guys from WWF, they're there for a while. He only wants, I know I've talked to him about it. He only wants one win, over those guys way out, because if you beat him more than once, it doesn't mean anything anyway. But the one win can get the one guy over.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, but I mean, especially for us, like a guy like Loki, our whole 2002 was based on him, and we still have to sell those tapes and DVDs with him on it. So we don't want him going out as a jobber, and then everything that he did in 2002, people go back and look at the tape listings and go, oh, well, why do I want tapes of this guy in the main event? He was a fraud all along.
Yeah. We're going to go ahead to a break right now. We'll be back more with GABE SAPOLSKY right after this. You're listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. I'm Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, with Bryan Alvarez of Figure 4 Weekly, and our special guest, Gabe Sapolsky, the booker for Ring of Honor. Also, real quick, is 14-3. The Carolina Panthers are leading the Philadelphia Eagles with about 3 minutes left to go. So it's time's running out for the Eagles, Patriots, and the winner in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. And, Gabe, how's the buzz in Philadelphia as far as going into this game? Was a pretty big thing locally?
Yeah, this is very disappointing.
Yeah.
So that's actually why I sound a little down right now. So I was just out in South Philly, before the game started, getting some wings and stuff, and everyone was really excited for this. So and everybody really thought that they were going all the way this year. So this is definitely very disappointing.
Now, for your schedule, where some of the places? I mean, we talked about Chicago, actually Chicago Ridge, Illinois, right outside Chicago, and Minneapolis, St. Paul. You're going the next day. Name some of the cities that you're going to in the next couple of months, and some cities that you are looking at going into.
Well, right now, the only new cities we're really looking at are St. Paul and Chicago. We're actually always looking at new cities, but those are the main ones. And Boston, we're there February 14th. Philadelphia, we're back May 22nd. Baltimore, we're there at the end of the month, January 29th. So I think our main concern right now, though, is trying to find better venues to run in these cities. In that I think we've learned our lesson from trying to run places that are located maybe 30 minutes outside of the city or kind of out of the way. So now we're looking for better locations that people know where it is inside the actual city, so they're just easier for the fans to get to. I think that's been one of our mistakes that has hurt attendance in the past few months. Is like, for instance, when we went up to Rochester, which should have been a good city, we went to Spencerport, and there was this crazy detour, and it's practically like a dirt road you had to go on to get there, and we didn't have that many people there, and we said, well, who's going to know how to get out here? So I think that the main thing we're looking at is, for instance, when we go to that area to run a place in downtown Buffalo or right off one of the major roadways in Buffalo and not settle for these out-of-the-way buildings, kind of like we've done in the past.
Now, as far as how about like Toronto area going into Canada? Have you
So going into Canada, you have all the you have to get everybody into Canada, and then you have all the problems getting the merchandise over there, and there's just a lot of extra money that it costs.
Okay. Now, what exactly? How did that whole thing go down for your last Boston area show? Where you had to switch venues a couple of times, and
we're going to have to switch venues again. Believe it or not, we're getting the same phone calls, and we got a new venue, so I think we're announcing it on Monday. I just have to get the information.
So that February 14th, you're going to have to move?
Yeah, but
geez.
It's right down the street from where we are. There's an armory right down the street, so. So we're it's not that much of a move, but I mean it's ridiculous. We have somebody up there who keeps calling everybody on us and lying about us and saying we do this and that when we don't. And the problem is that we keep booking schools up there, and schools they don't want to. If there's any sign of a headache, they don't want to deal with it because they don't want any bad publicity in the local papers or any of that kind of stuff. So basically, we just have to get the buildings that aren't schools, and we'll be fine. And I mean, I think it's something that's really hurt us in the Boston area. We've had to move buildings. We started in one Wakefield building, and then some promoters screwed that up there by trashing the building, so the town didn't want anything there anymore. Then we moved to another building, then another one. So if you don't have a centralized place at in Philadelphia, the people knew you came to the ECW arena every month to see wrestling. We need to get that in Boston, where we have a consistent building that we can count on. And I think that's really hurt our attendance up there. So who's ever making these calls, I hate to say it, but they're taking a bite out of us, and it's really these are the kind of things that it's just ridiculous. It's these people who are just they can't create something on their own, so instead they try to destroy what you are creating there. So whoever it is, I wish that they'd come and face us if they have a problem with us, because we'd be more than happy to face them at this point.
Let's go to Aaron in Lincoln, Nebraska. Aaron, what's going on?
Hey, Dave, how you doing?
Doing really good.
The Love Ring of Honor, I've gotten 2 or 3 of your tapes in the past. It's just tremendous work. It's just great to see that quality of wrestling here in the United States. That being said, I've got a couple questions. One about TNA. I think I read on your website that they're going to be doing some kind of X Division tournament with AAA.
Yeah, on February 11th.
Now, we don't have Galavision here, so I haven't seen anything new from AAA in probably years. But I don't read anything but bad things about them.
Bryan watches them every week.
Well, it'd be worth seeing, or is there any names, or?
I mean, there's a bunch of names. They mentioned some names on their TV today. I think it was Zorro, there's Psychosis, Abismo Negro, and a fourth guy. But I wouldn't write those down. I mean, because that was taped actually before Pena went to Nashville on Wednesday. And Pena didn't have the guys picked, and it's still a process of picking. So there's a bunch of names: Oriental, Juventud Guerrera, Mr. Aguila. Mm-hmm. They're all Hector Garza. They're all under consideration. Heavy Metal's another one. They're all under consideration. There'll be 4 of them. We don't know which 4 they will be. That's up to Jeff Jarrett and Antonio Pena to finally come to a conclusion on that.
But if you're asking, there are 4 good guys in AAA that could be brought up.
Okay.
There are 4 good guys. I mean, now, if you bring up a whole AAA show, that's a circus.
Yeah. Okay, I had a couple other quick questions kind of regarding history-type stuff. Reading through the Observer, I got the awards issue yesterday. The Atlantis-Villano 3 match that won Match of the Year a few years back.
Yeah, 2000, I think.
What was the story with that?
That was just like one of those miracles. Gabe, you saw that match, didn't you?
No, I haven't seen anything from Mexico in ages.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a miracle in that I hadn't seen Villano 3 have like a great match in a single in years. And it was their Mask match. It was, I think, was that the first pay-per-view they ever did? EMLL?
I think it was, yeah.
I think it was their first pay-per-view, and it was just a magic night, and it was Villano that did it. I mean, it was, Atlantis, not like he was bad or anything, but it was Villano's match, and he was in his, I think, late 40s or close to 50 by then. And, you had his father, practically crying as his son unmasked, and it was, the Villanos had so much history in Mexico, and losing the mask was such a big deal. And it was really phenomenal. I mean, especially because it's the only match in Mexico ever to win Match of the Year. And when you consider all the matches in Mexico that there have been, I mean, that's saying something.
That's what I wondered, if it was something that was, more a phenomenal scene and
it was a phenomenal match, phenomenal heat, and phenomenal scene. It was everything. It was like one of those things that you couldn't, you only see those things every now and then in wrestling, and they're hard to duplicate. Kind of like I think the Misawa Kobashi was very similar to that this year. In that there was between the history building up to it, and the fact that you knew it was going to be their last match, and the fact that it was a phenomenal match, and that the fans were so, it was one of those things when you watch it, you go, man, this is like a once in a lifetime type thing.
You can't create that kind of thing. It just has to happen.
Yeah, you can't book it. You look, like Hogan and Rock at that WrestleMania. Certainly was, not that was as technically good a match as these, but it was certainly a magic moment that nobody really knew they were going to have a magic moment until probably the day before or 2 days before the match, when all of a sudden when Hogan showed up at one of those what's it called, the fan access thing, and they went so nuts for him. Everyone was like, oh my God, Vince McMahon goes, go fly home and bring your red and yellow. He flew home, brought his red and yellow back, and then Vince McMahon goes, don't wear it. So, but I mean, Lannis and Viano 3 was an incredible match.
Okay. One other quick thing regarding the Royal Rumble. A few years back, I saw this. I don't remember what year it was. I saw it recently. What was the point of Kabuki and Tenryu being around WWF at the time?
Just the idea of
flavor,
international flavor. They brought in Carlos Colon. They used to do that. They have 30 slots, so just bring in some guy from the outside that people don't usually see. They did that with Dory Funk Jr. one year.
Okay. I didn't know if there's anything more to it, or if they were.
I think that they were working with
something with Japan at the time.
I think that they were working with. I could be wrong about the timing of this. It might have been SWS, or it might have been. But whatever promotion, I think that Tenryu and Koji Katao, was it Koji Katao in the Royal Rumble one year?
No, he was at WrestleMania one year, a long time ago.
Oh, okay. They might have been, okay. But whatever it was, I think they were working with that promotion at that time in Japan, and just kind of bring somebody in.
Okay, cool.
Okay?
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Gabe, as far as the different gimmicks and things like this, with your audience, some of the stuff that you do, it's a final score 14-3, by the way. Just ended. So it's going to be the Carolina Panthers and the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl in 2 weeks. Gabe, as far as what have you learned? Because you've done stuff. The one thing with Ring of Honor is that it either works. It seems like it either works big or it doesn't work big. The people are very passionate, and of the stuff that hasn't worked. Can you look back and go, okay, this is what we can't do, and this is why it didn't work, or do you just go, well, it just didn't work, and you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think the number one lesson learned that fits into that category would be a year ago, the Final Battle 2002 show, when we did the Amazing Red against Jody Fleisch, and we had Special K come in, and they didn't even really do a run-in, that they interrupted the match. They came to ringside about 3-4 minutes into the match. They were supposed to come out 6 minutes into the match. The match was supposed to go 10. For some reason, the match went 6. There was a miscommunication. They thought I meant go home in 6. So Special K came out 3 minutes in. The finish was them pulling Jody Fleisch out of the way of Red, trying to hit his move. So they didn't even touch Red, but then Fleisch hit a move, and the people absolutely hated it, and they should have, because it was the match they paid to see on that show. And so I learned right then and there that if we ever have any big time matches like that, or for the most part anything besides any kind of throwaway matches, we can't do anything like that. And I would say that is definitely the number one thing. The people definitely come wanting to see. When they come to a match like that was heavily hyped and that they paid their money to see, we can't have any kind of shenanigans in it. We have to just give them a straight up great quality match. Now,
do you feel handicapped? And I guess it hasn't happened, but All Japan, for years, did the great match, especially the great match main event, and for years and years and years and years and years, and after it was maybe 7 years or 10 years of this thing. The fans kind of sat there. I remember watching those matches where they would sit there for 20 minutes because they knew that this match was going, between 20 minutes and 45 minutes. And do you feel like, you may have to do, the way they got out of it obviously was doing some 8-minute main events, which at the beginning were kind of different, but I think in the long run it kind of worked. Have you gotten to the point where, we'll go back to this right after the break because we're going to hit the break right now. But Gabe, I want to ask you about the idea of having thrown a short main event every now and then, or what your thoughts are on that. Anyway, we'll be back with that question right after this. You're listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network. Okay, welcome back to Wrestling Observer Live. Dave Meltzer, editor of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, with Bryan Alvarez, Figure 4 Weekly, and Gabe SAPOLSKY, the booker for Ring of Honor. And we asked about, you've had some great long matches, including a 60-minute match last year, and a couple of 25, a lot of in the 25-minute range, I guess. Do you feel that there's a time that you may have to do an 8-minute main event with top guys just to do it?
Well, no, because the main thing what we have to do is sell videotapes and DVDs, because without that, then we're nothing, and we're not going to stay in business. And no one's going to buy a videotape or DVD. Let's say people see American Dragon versus AJ Styles, and they expect a long match. And nowadays, I think people are pretty happy if anything goes over 15 minutes. But let's say you cut that short and you do a 6-minute match just to show it could end in 6 minutes between two top guys like that. I think that would backfire on us in a huge way, because no one's going to want the videotape of a 6-minute match, and the live crowd, it's definitely our fans would not accept that. So I don't see that, but it would depend on the case. I mean, if there is a different type of we could do that. Like, for instance, something we just did in Ohio, we had that 6-man main event, and the match went 28 minutes, and then they did like an 8-minute brawl afterwards, and we did a no contest, so we did a no finish on a main event, which is a pretty risky thing for us, but we did have the big pop at the end when Daniels got the Pepsi plunged through the table, and the whole place was chanting ROH afterwards. So we can do different types of things, like a finish like that, or perhaps order the show around a little differently, so maybe we do have something in the main event that's a little shorter. I mean, most Samoa Joe matches are in the 15-minute range, and he always leaves the crowd on its feet and always closes the show with a great match. So I think as long as the people get a satisfying match, unless it's something like an American Dragon AJ Styles that has to go longer, but otherwise they're pretty happy with 15 minutes or anything over that.
Okay, Gabe, I want to thank you very much for joining us today.
Cool.
And good luck on all the upcoming shows. There's Baltimore. There's going to be Chicago in April, Minneapolis with Chicago. Heenan's working both Chicago and Minneapolis, right?
Yep, he's on both shots.
Yeah, so that should be pretty good. And of course, next week, because of the Royal Rumble, we will not be on live, but we will have the infamous show with Ole Anderson next week. And in 2 weeks, we're going to have believe it or not, our 3rd annual show going head-to-head with the Super Bowl. And I've been scared to death going into both of those shows, but they both turned out okay, and hopefully we'll make 3 in a row. And, of course, it'll be the day after UFC. So we'll certainly have a lot to talk about. So we'll see you live in 2 weeks, and hope you all enjoy next week's show, because a lot of people did. And I wasn't one of them. I'll talk to you later. Okay, thanks, Gabe, and we'll see you all next week. You'll listen to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Radio Network.